It is Bryan Curtis.
Bryan?
Yes.
Really? Can we license that at the Ringer? Or is that just a dumb zone IP that's, untouchable?
We're open source, I think. I don't know what that really means, but yeah, we're open source. How you been, man?
It's great to see you. I've been good. I missed you guys.
Missed you too. I keep up with the pod, but man, I feel like if there's ever been a time where the press box could go daily instead of twice weekly, it's been like the last month. My God.
Has anything been going on? Did I miss some news? The talk show host get suspended because of pressure from the President of the United States? What?
Man, I wanted to start there. I know that's jumping right into the deep end, but I've seen a couple of these stories percolating. I've seen you talk to the awful announcing guys about this a little bit. But to me, what I think is really interesting about the Nexstar, Sinclair, Disney, Kimmel thing is football. And it is the hammer that is bigger than all else. It's the thing people care about more than politics. So I guess just can you kind of walk us through the hardball that Disney or ABC could play with, the SEC, Monday Night Football, that sort of thing?
Don't you feel like you're talking to your grandpa about telegrams when we talk about affiliates and networks?
I am, and breaking contracts. What's the term? Like if they don't air Kimmel for a certain amount of time, they're in violation of their rights. It's like, boy, this feels 20 years ago.
Yeah, we can watch something, but we need KXAS to be the feeder of that thing to us. I mean, that just sounds so prehistoric. But yes, so the affiliates have a certain amount of agency here where they can say, hey, we don't like that Jimmy Kimmel. We feel he's disrespectful. He needs to do this and that before we put him back on our air. And we saw even his comeback show the other day, despite getting 6+ million viewers, wasn't on in Washington, Portland, New Orleans, Nashville, because those affiliates don't want to show the show, even though he's back on ABC. So he's on ABC, but he's not on in Washington, D.C. or Portland. What you're talking about is what Disney could come back with and essentially say, hey, either you show the late night show that we want or the actual last valuable live programming in America, infinitely more valuable than late night, than primetime comedies, than anything else, which is football. We could withhold that from you. We could use that as a bargaining chip. I mean, it's hard to imagine it would get to like that. Just feels like the nuclear button if you're really pulling football games off, because you're just going to piss so. I mean, think of whenever YouTube TV has one of these standoffs with Fox and everybody freaks out because they're going to miss a game. But could that happen behind the scenes? Could that be relayed to Nexstar and Sinclair and these outlets that own affiliates? Absolutely. And I think it shouldn't. It'll certainly be the undertone if it's not stated outright.
And then if that became public, they would shape it as Jimmy Kimmel is taking football away from everybody. That's the way the anti-Jimmy Kimmel side would do it. But
took away Fowler and Herbie on Saturday nights. Now he's gone too far.
What about the whole Disney though wants isn't the whole thing that they're trying to merge and have like a way higher percentage of ownership of stations than they're allowed, and like isn't that at the heart of this whole thing?
Yes, I mean every one of these things. Somebody has business, a merger that the FCC needs to at least nod at or not, interfere with. So with this case, it's Nexstar group of affiliates wants to buy more affiliates. And what was that percentage we saw? That was like more than 39% of affiliates they would control if they merge, right? That's a lot. You might be getting into territory of like, hey, that's too many affiliates for one company to own. So they need the Trump administration to nod at that. And then the other one here is, of course, ESPN and the NFL Network. That too has got to be approved. That ESPN made that deal, but as we know, ESPN doesn't operate the NFL Network right now. That will not happen until after the season, and that requires Trump administration approval. That's also a Disney deal that they need to get through this thing.
Why is 39% considered too much?
I think 39% might be what it currently is.
Okay.
Yeah,
theirs would get it to 80 or
so
close to it.
what's the fear that just one
It's your normal consolidation,
controls too many media
monopolization.
voices, and
Yeah.
you won't get a wide variety.
Which, editorializing on the side here, not really asking Bryan to support me. That seems really performative because is that?
That's not Bryan's theme song.
It's not. That like acting as if that's going to stop like manufacturing of consent if the government needs to set a narrative like, oh, we got to keep this group under 40 so we can really have independent voices here. Like, that's insane. Like that feels like
is what just happened. I mean,
under the current rules. Exactly.
Before the merger.
Yeah. So you bring up the ESPN NFL network thing. We certainly have not talked to you since then. I know the primary headline was Red Zone's going to have commercials. But in practice, what does this really mean? And we don't know, but your prediction, I guess, how coverage would change, if at all.
Well, first of all, it means the headline is Ian Rappaport is going to start working for ESPN. I know he's a personal friend of yours, Jake, going back many, many years. Going back to some of those great Radio Row plugs, when he was selling some Colombian coffee to the masses. What's it going to mean? I mean, first of all, there was an old president of ESPN who, and these were his words, he called the NFL ESPN's crack cocaine. And I love those words. And essentially, ESPN has gone from the user of crack cocaine to the dealer in this deal, right? They bought the NFL network. It's like, we will actually just own this whole thing and give you somehow even more NFL. Doesn't matter if it's in the A block of every single episode of First Take. We're going to find ways to get you more insiders, more reporters. We had all those people standing out of stadiums. Now we got Jane Slater also, on our roster here. So there's that. I think the reporting part of it is fascinating to me because, of course, they're making all the right noises about that. Roger Goodell even called into an ESPN meeting and said, I'm not going to interfere if ESPN publishes a story that makes me uncomfortable, makes one of those rich owners uncomfortable. But I just think it's so naive to think that will not change under this new regime, where not only does the NFL network be owned by ESPN, but the NFL itself has an equity stake in ESPN. I mean, if you're in like the owner of the Browns or the owner of the Cowboys, and you see that, well, let's throw Jerry aside because he actually kind of likes bad news in a way. But let's say you're the owner of the Browns or the Cardinals. Why would you be okay with that? Why would there was some great investigation by Don Van Natten and Seth Wickersham? How are you not picking up the phone and being like, guys, what's happened with this? And we know that ESPN has already done so much to what's the word I'm looking for, to de-emphasize that kind of reporting. The website's really different. There aren't as many long articles in the ESPN world. And I say that as somebody who used to write them. There's no daily outside the lines for a Van Natten and Wickersham to go on after they have a big blockbuster article like that. So I think what you're ultimately going to see is just fewer jobs for people that would write that kind of stuff or do that kind of investigating.
That sucks.
That's interesting. Yeah, I don't...
Not great news.
I mean, it's been a weird way behind the scenes that it seems like back in your day there, didn't Simmons get suspended for saying something about the commissioner?
When there's no suspensions anymore, you notice.
Or tweeting, yeah.
How many suspensions of Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith have you ever seen?
Right. And and there's different leadership there now, so maybe things are different. But I mean, I even remember back in those days, I listened to a podcast called it was the Baseball Today, whatever the morning baseball podcast was, catching up on last night's game and talking about what's going on. Was it Peter? I can't remember the host's name. I really liked it. And he got run because they were just giving the news of the day, and one of the stories was that they put up a Bud Selig statue in Milwaukee, and he made a little joke that wasn't really funny about, the pigeons are going to love to soil that thing. And they took him off for a couple days. He came back on and apologized, and then they got rid of him.
Peter Pasquarelli,
okay. Is that story on his Wikipedia page? How he got run? But the point is, there's always been this weird, hey, we're in bed with these guys. We don't want to make them mad at all. But that's a lot different, too, than just hardcore inside Don Van Natta type stuff that you have to let go. As we're reporting on concussions, maybe, or whatever.
Yeah, the truth is 95% of the stuff about the NFL on ESPN isn't going to make anybody at the NFL mad. It's just going to make them happy. We may even say 99%, right? Like, I'm mad at Jerry for the Micah Parsons trade. Nobody cares. Nobody in NFL headquarters or even with the Cowboys is upset by that. I'm breaking down film to show you how George Pickens gives up on routes. Nobody is upset at that. Zero. That just feeds interest in the NFL. It makes you want to watch Cowboys Packers on Sunday night. It's that last 5 to 1% of stories that are the kinds of things that irritate them. And that is the thing that's important to protect going forward.
So, sort of a separate but related thing here is, ESPN launching their own service, so that, if I guess if they wanted to swing we could take local sports from you hammer, there is at least an alternative, a growing alternative for people to be able to go get those games independent of their local affiliate. But I'm confused personally by what the NFL is doing with YouTube, other than it just being like, it feels like, hey, I have these two hot, rich friends. I'll set them up. They have nothing in common. But when I see Roger Goodell trying to hug iShow Speed at a press conference, and it to me it feels like a misread of the market. I don't feel like 13-year-olds that are really into YouTube are NFL fans or set to become NFL fans, but maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't have kids that age. It feels very incongruent to me.
It's like on one hand, the NFL is the giant, the monolith, and also that they're still very much an old media league.
Yeah.
They just made that round of deals, right? And those were network deals. They were like, this is where we're going to get our last big pile of money out of network TV, out of Fox, CBS, NBC. We'll give a little bit to Amazon. We're going to work in Netflix because we believe and that's part of it. And then you see what you're talking about with YouTube, Brazil games, stuff like that. But yeah, I just don't think they speak that language. And probably it's because they haven't had to speak that language. It's, the NBA is so online in so many ways and so trying to tell you it's online in so many ways. That Adam Silver press conference the other day where he's like, well, we have young people that just watch highlights on Twitter. It's like, I don't know if you know this, but you're not going to get paid for that most of the time. Like, you actually want those people to watch some games because otherwise your product is going to kind of fade. But the NFL is just never had to worry about that. Maybe that's where that weirdness comes from.
Yeah, it is a bit strange. I guess I think about the NFL's place in society a lot, which is weird. But I think when you think about these threats over Kimmel and politics, it's like I don't think the guys in the Punisher shirts are that big of NFL fans. Do you know what I'm saying? I feel like it's not a monolith, but I think that it's right or Republican coded, but I don't really think that it's a Republican thing. I think that your hardcore Trump guy is not into the NFL like I am or like you are, or even somebody who just doesn't care about politics at all. It occupies a weird place in society to me that we can't really classify because everything else is broken down by politics.
Yes, I agree with that. And if you remember the Kaepernick stuff, which is now like 10 years ago, right? Wasn't it 10 years ago this month, I think? Which is amazing that much time has gone by. There was movement if you looked at National Review online publications saying, I'm done with the NFL. I, a right winger, am out because the NFL has, it's changed in a way I don't like. And that just kind of went nowhere, and then 50 million people watched the NFC Championship game. It's like, oh, well. So
the crack still hits. That's the thing. And that's why I think about the NFL a lot is just because it seems to be the last. It's just impervious. I don't know where the new consumers are coming from, but I know they keep coming. I know that the deals keep being worth more. Like he said, ESPN's like, why not more NFL? And everything else in society feels very vulnerable to just be picked off by I'm mad about this. And I got a few other friends that are mad about it too. It's interesting to
Yeah.
me.
And it was kneeling, it was head injuries. I mean, remember, there have been a lot of things that have come along and be like, is this the end of football? Is this it? And we didn't ever get there.
Like we have parents being like, "You kidding me? I'm not gonna have my kid play this game. Come sit next to me while we watch it for 9 hours together on Sunday. Like, you may not play
Let's just
it,
watch it
but let's
instead.
watch it."
Yeah, that is interesting because it seems like it did have some kind of effect on Bud Light as far as sales and things like that. I don't know, but like Mike Pence went to a game and indignantly left before it started because he just couldn't take the kneeling. Like that was so performative, but he was obviously trying to get.
I know.
All right, follow me, folks. I'm leaving. You, everybody else behind me, and everybody's like,
Well,
um,
they got other domestic lights.
I'm,
they got other shoe companies. They don't have other NFLs. You know.